because it happened in the night, in the dark, in my bed. In 5 years, I can count on one hand how many times I've slept in a bed with the lights off. I went from the day bed to my recliner in my living room. I did that for 3 years. Now I sleep in a window ledge in my craft room with every light in there on.
So you know how ridiculous that is. I can tell that you know that
Yes,
that's ridiculous. However, you cannot find a way to go back to your bed because you think that what?
I'm not silly enough to believe that it happened because I was in my bed and I
Yes.
was in the dark. And we lived in Texas at the time. We're now in Tennessee, completely different house, different bed. I said, it could have happened in this car. I get that. But somewhere in this brain of mine, I cannot sleep in the dark. I don't know why. And my husband can't sleep with the lights.
This is the Recovery After Stroke podcast with Bill Gassiamis, helping you navigate recovery after stroke.
Hello and welcome to the Recovery After Stroke podcast. As mentioned in my last episode, I'm putting together the final touches of my book before it goes live, and to celebrate the end of this 4-year project, I have decided to make the first chapter available for anyone who is curious to check it out free of charge. The book is called The Unexpected Way That a Stroke Became the Best Thing That Happened, and it shares 10 secrets from stroke survivors that will transform your life. If you go to recoveryafterstroke.com/book and fill out the form, you will receive the first chapter in your email a few moments later. So go ahead and grab your copy now. If you are a stroke survivor with a story to share about your experience, now is the perfect time to join me on the show. The interviews are not scripted. You do not have to plan for them. All you need to do to qualify is be a stroke survivor who wants to share your story in the hope that it'll make a difference for somebody else going through something similar. If you are a researcher who would like to share the findings of a recent study, or you are looking to recruit people into your studies, you may also wish to reach out and be a guest on my show. If you have a commercial product that you would like to promote that is related to supporting stroke survivors to recover, there is also a path for you to join me on a sponsored episode of the show. Just go to recoveryafterstroke.com/contact, fill out the form explaining briefly which category you belong to, and I will respond with more details about how we can connect via Zoom. This is episode 273, and my guest today is Donna Miller, who experienced a right cerebellum stroke while she slept, aged 49. Donna Miller, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Tell me a little bit about what happened to you.
Well, let's see. July 29th, 2018. I went to bed one night as me, woke up somebody else.
Wow.
And normally I'm not an early riser because I stay up really late. And um, I happened to hear my husband up about 5 something in the morning. I got up, went to the bathroom. I just glanced at myself going by the mirror in the bathroom, and I noticed my face was on my chin, or my mouth was on my chin on the right side. And I didn't have my glasses on. I said to my husband, "Do you see what I see?" And he said, "Well, something looks off." Well, it took several hours for my son, to get up, and he's like, "Mom, you've had a stroke." I said, "No, no, 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 no. I feel fine." I'm thinking, because I've never had a stroke, that I'm gonna have a stroke. I'm gonna feel something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna know it, and I didn't. And so, uh, finally went to the hospital and everything, and they did tests and all that kind of stuff. And I was in there for 3 days. I'd had a stroke.
And the first sign was the way that your left side appeared to you when you looked in the mirror.
Yeah, my right side of my mouth was literally almost down here.
Right.
The whole right side of my mouth, and my eye would not close at all. My right eye. I had weakness on my whole right side, and um, I felt fine though. I mean, I had a massive headache, but I bet I had been struggling with a migraine for 4 days solid prior, and I have a history of migraine, so you know.
Uh-huh. And then when you went to hospital, they immediately knew that you had a stroke. They could tell. And
Well, the hospital didn't, the neurologist did.
uh-huh.
She came in and she said, I think we're going to keep you here for a little bit. And I go, for what? I don't want to be here. She said, because you've had a stroke. And I'm like, no, 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 no. But I finally did relent and stay.
Why do people don't want to be at hospital? When I'm unwell and it's potentially serious, I have no problem being at a hospital. You know, I was like, let's go to the hospital. Let me get checked out. When I finally overcome the idea that there was nothing wrong with me, after it was confirmed that I was at the hospital and I wanted to be nowhere else, where it's the best place to be as far as I'm concerned. But I've met a lot of people who have come onto a similar journey as us that will go, I hate hospitals, I don't want to be in hospitals. And I'm trying to curiously understand what's at the bottom of that.
I don't hate hospitals. I mean, I work in the medical field.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't hate hospitals. I don't mind taking someone else there. I just don't like needles, number
Uh-huh.
one. And I don't want them poking and prodding on me. Number two, I mean, I was a workaholic back then. And in my mind, only thing I could think of is I have work to do. I had better things to do than lay up in the hospital.
Yeah. Fair enough. Makes sense. Most people are busy and they've got a ton of tabs open, so to speak, on their browser, and they're all going at the same time and they all need to be sorted. And you can't do that when you're away from that place where things get done and you're who you are. So you've gone home after 3 days. What's that like? How do they send you home? What's the kind of send off you get? What do they tell you?
Well, all I knew is I had a stroke. I didn't know what kind, I didn't know where. They did MRIs, they did CAT scans, and they said the neurologist, I'll just see them after the fact when I go home, and they'll kind of fill me in on everything. I didn't have insurance because I was self employed. So they did offer to send me to a facility, like a rehab or a nursing home type place. Um, and I could get some type of rehab there. And my son is like, oh no, my mom's no, no, we'll take care of her at home. So my son, who was 20 at the time, almost 20, he stayed home. He took care of me, helped feed me, cook for me, pick me up off the floor every time I fell, until my husband came home every day. Um, it was very alarm bells. What am I going to do with my life now? I at that time I couldn't stay awake hardly. I couldn't remember certain things. I couldn't hardly do anything, and I was very independent. So that was like crushing for me. And when I did see the neurologist, I never got any answers, never got any therapy, never nothing.
And did you have many falls while you were at home?
Oh yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I was falling several times a day. And I had a walker with my husband. We got me a walker with a seat and everything, but I very rarely used it because I didn't want to become dependent.
Uh-huh. So it was a little bit of that time where you're still thinking, I'm gonna be okay. I don't need to use this thing. And was it getting up to walk to go to the kitchen, wherever, and then just your right side just sort of failing to support you? How did it happen?
It could be that, or it could be midway. It could be because I slept a lot. I had a hard time staying awake then, and I would cycle between just insomnia to couldn't wake up. you know. And so there were times when I fell out of not even a bed, I slept in like a day bed type thing because it happened in the night, in the dark, in my bed. In 5 years, I can count on one hand how many times I've slept in a bed with the lights off.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I went from the day bed to my recliner in my living room. I did that for 3 years. Now I sleep in a window ledge in my craft room with every light in there on.
So you know how ridiculous that is. I can tell that you know that
Yes.
that's ridiculous. However, you cannot find a way to go back to your bed because you think that What?
I well, like I told my husband last night, because we got into this, conversation, and I said, I'm not silly enough to believe that it happened because I was in my bed and I
Yes.
was in the dark. And we lived in Texas at the time. We're now in Tennessee, completely different house, different bed. I said, it could have happened in this car. I get that. But somewhere in this brain of mine, I cannot sleep in the dark. I don't know why.
Mhm.
And my husband can't sleep with the lights. So, okay, well,
Yeah, of
I
course.
just stay somewhere else.
Yeah. So you do know that that might be a post-traumatic stress disorder symptom, what you're experiencing.
Yeah, that or just really silly stuff. I don't know.
A combination of the both, but really, it's not uncommon. I've heard it before from people who have had a stroke at night in bed, that certain conditions make it very difficult for them to go back to sleep in that environment, because there is definitely a post-traumatic stress disorder thing going on, where if I go back there, I'm creating the conditions for another one to happen, as if you did that anyway. But that's kind of what goes on in their head. And then the struggle is real. It's real because then sleep is becoming an issue. And the most important thing you need after a stroke is you need to be able to sleep at night so your brain can heal and flush the toxins out and give you energy the next day, so that fatigue is not dramatic and not bad. So uh, maybe, Donna, because we've known each other forever, and I can give you advice. Maybe it's something to think about, is going to uh, a neuropsych or a psychologist, and seeing if potentially actually a psychologist, and see if they can explain the disorder to you and see whether you relate to you and whether they can get you a diagnosis. Now, from there, you have some information about the underlying cause as to why you're not getting there, because we know the stroke's not the underlying cause. There's something else stopping you from going there and switching the lights off. But I've heard it before. I get it.
Yeah, and I don't get it. And
Mm,
I guess I would say everything has changed about me.
mm,
I'm no longer the same person on any shape, form, or fashion. I used to be very independent, never cry about anything unless I was very angry. Now I cry about everything. Um, I my face is still crazy, and I talk funny, and a lot of times when I'm talking, it's like I know what I'm trying to say, but my brain doesn't push it out,
yeah,
and people look at you like you're a little slow, like something's wrong with you.
yeah,
And um, so I finally this year decided, okay, I've got a job where I have insurance now because I had to give up business and everything. I'm going to find out what's going on.
yeah. Good on you.
Started with a neurologist. I've been to every doctor since. And why am I so fatigued? Why can I not function in life really? And I do have a neuropsych appointment next April.
Excellent.
And
Excellent.
so we'll see what happens with that. I am going to see a psychologist. I finally decided I need to talk to somebody
Good,
at the end of this month. So
good, 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 good. That's great. So the crying thing, that's very common as well. Do you know that amongst stroke survivors, one of the things that becomes a little bit uncontrollable is the ability to cry or not cry or hold back your tears. That happens to me. I'll give you an example. Last weekend, literally 7 days ago, my football team won the championship. So I was, I laugh because it's the only thing I can do. I was crying throughout the whole game. I was so emotional. And we had people over. We had a barbecue and people were over for lunch and everything. And my wife was just bagging me the whole time. She was just, "Are you going to cry over that? Are you going to cry over that?" And I would have to tell her to shut up. Shut up. Leave me alone. Don't talk. Stop it. I'm watching the game. and I was doing this. I was sitting as far away from everybody as I could, and I had my hand up so that they couldn't see me. But of course, they knew if I had my hand up, that meant that I was crying, and I was just so emotional because it was a close game. I could not stop myself. One of my players did an amazing play. One of my favorite players did an amazing play, and I cried then. I cried when they won. I cried the next day when I saw the replay. I'm like, it hasn't stopped, and it's just ridiculous. But I can't do that, and I never used to be like that, and I never used to be a problem. I used to get excited, and I used to yell and scream and all that kind of stuff. But now that has turned into excitement plus tears, tears of joy, maybe, or relief, or I don't know what they are. But man, it's nuts. And my first brain hemorrhage was in 2012. So it has got far better. But every once in a while, it catches me off guard and I can't do anything about it. And once I start, I can't stop.
Well, yeah, and I hate that because I don't know. I feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like if I want to go talk to my boss about something, I can feel my mouth quivering before I even
Yeah.
get. I said, okay, forget it.
Yeah.
And I just won't do it. Or go to the doctor and I just cry the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's called pseudobulbar affect.
Hmm.
It has a name. It's a condition and has a name. And it's very, very common. So I know that it's uncomfortable because it was uncomfortable for me as well at the beginning. But then I said, stuff it, man. I'll just explain it to people if anyone wants an explanation. Because half, because it's not the crying, it's not a devastated, sad, depressed kind of cry. It's just like a cry. And I don't know,
No
you know,
rhyme or reason.
yeah. And I'm not doing it because I need you to feel sorry for me or I need a hug or anything. I'm just crying and I don't know why. And I'm just doing it. And if you're uncomfortable, I'll explain it. It's not about you, the situation, or anything. It's just what's happening. It's ridiculous, but it's very common.
I
And
know in the beginning, my husband was very shocked about it, and he'd say, "What's wrong? What are you crying for?" I don't know.
yeah. And there's nothing bad about it, but I know it makes people feel uncomfortable, especially stroke survivors who respond to me by saying, what do they say? They say like my emotions are all over the place and I can't control them. It's a stroke thing. I don't know. Anyhow.
Yeah,
Well, I'm glad that you're going to go and see a whole bunch of people. So your life changed pretty dramatically. What were the things that immediately you weren't able to do after you came home from the stroke?
I couldn't cook. I couldn't walk anywhere by myself. Well, I could, but I would probably fall. So nobody let me go anywhere. I couldn't drive. Um, my memory was off. Now I could look at pictures of my children when they were younger, and I was in the picture, and I cannot remember it, but I know I was there. I could see
Uh-huh.
it.
Uh-huh.
Certain things I could remember, just hit and miss. Um, Bathing myself was difficult. It was almost like everything was difficult. Eating was difficult, and even to this day, I still have certain foods I can't eat because I still have, it's number on the right side of my throat.
Uh-huh. So is the swallowing sensation different?
Yeah, and I don't feel some of it, and so food will get stuck in the next thing you know, I'm choking. Um, my vision was really bad. In fact, this eye, this right eye didn't close for 6 months. Stayed open, didn't blink, nothing. And it's gotten better. I mean, one day I had an episode where I think I had a mini stroke. I'm not even for sure. But I got for about 3 or 4 minutes, I got to where I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't even sit up. And then my eye closed. So now this eye uh, works however it wants to. If I eat, if I drink, this eye, if I talk and this eye is moving. If I eat, drink, this eye will close. The eye doctor told me about 6 months ago that the nerve is probably regenerated into my mouth nerves. So whenever this mouth moves, this eye responds.
Uh-huh.
So
That's weird. That's weird.
yeah. And he said he had a patient that happened, but it went into his salivary glands. So anytime his mouth watered from even thinking about food, his eye would just flood.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, thankfully that didn't happen.
Wow. That's fascinating. I've never heard that one before, and I've heard a lot of things, but never that one. So, all right, you finally decided to go get some help. So, how did it affect you emotionally? Do you feel? I mean, apart from the crying for whatever reason, we spoke about that, but like, how do you feel about the whole situation? How does it impact your emotions, other than the crying for no reason?
I was angry. Felt sorry for myself. I did a lot of pity.
Uh huh. Pity
I
parties.
did that for I did that for a couple of years even, you
Uh huh.
know. Um, why me? My life
Mm,
is ruined. I
mm,
didn't see anything positive about it at all.
mm.
And even now I find very little. Every once in a while I have a good day and I can say, okay, well my life has changed, but maybe this is for whatever reason it's supposed to go this way, you know. But I think I felt the best out of 5 years when I found out last June what kind of stroke I had. Finally,
Uh huh.
I had a right uh, cerebellum stroke,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a part back there that's dead. In according to the was it MRI, I think it was the MRI that I had.
Yeah.
Um,
And how old were you
when I found out,
when it happened?
49.
Yeah.
I'm 54 now, and so now that I have a name to put to it, I know what kind, and I've been kind of looking it up. Makes me feel a little better, I guess.
You have more of an understanding of why things are the way they are, and how come your body feels the way that it does. So
Yeah.
the, kind of the picture is starting to come together, and you're able to connect the dots. I feel like information is really important. That's the reason why I suggested the psychologist appointment and the
Mhm.
neuropsych, because then you become informed about your condition, and then you learn ways to get around the deficits and to adjust and to rehabilitate yourself. So it's really important that uh, that people are curious about what happened to them, where it happened, how it happened. I've specifically got a document that you can download from my website. It's called 7 Questions to Ask Your Doctor About Your Stroke. And it's a free PDF. There's hundreds of people have downloaded it. And when the purpose of it is for them, for people to print it off and take it to the hospital with their at their doctor's appointment or their general practitioner, wherever. And what they do is they just ask these 7 questions. And they're not, like most amazing questions you've ever heard of in your life, but they are like, what kind of stroke did I have and where in my brain did it happen? And then from there, we also ask, one of the questions is, who else other than you do I need to see about my stroke to help me get better? And that's what I was missing when I was going to the hospital and to the doctors. I had no idea what to ask them or how to go about my supporting my own recovery and being my own advocate. And it was really hard. And I just didn't know. We used to go to appointments and then leave. And I'd go and I'd be saying to my wife, what did they say? What did we talk about? What do we have to do? Because I couldn't also remember I had a stroke. So I was not in the right, in my right mind. So it's really important for people to have an understanding of where things occurred and then what has been impacted as a result of that. It may be obvious to you that, oh, I can't get words out, but there's more to it than just, oh, I struggle to get words out. There's a neurological underlying cause. There's a discussion you can have around that. And then if you speak to a speech therapist, you can go to them with that information and go, this is exactly what's wrong with me. And this is what I need for the rehabilitation, for example. It's a far better place to be than I had a stroke and I don't know why, and I don't know where, and I'm not sure why I can't talk and why I can't walk and why I can't go to sleep. So,
Yeah, because you feel lost,
yeah.
and you don't know what's coming next. You don't
Mm,
know what you should do or shouldn't do,
mm,
or if you're going to be able to do it. Um, and that's where I was because I didn't know anything. And so I gave up. I didn't want to even, I lived in the country, middle of nowhere. So that was great for me. I went out there, I started learning to garden. I taught myself how to can. I started doing crafts and making wreaths and just building my own world out there.
mm.
And I secluded the rest of the world.
If you've had a stroke and you're in recovery, you'll know what a scary and confusing time it can be. You're likely to have a lot of questions going through your mind. Like, how long will it take to recover? Will I actually recover? What things should I avoid in case I make matters worse? Doctors will explain things, but obviously you've never had a stroke before. You probably don't know what questions to ask. If this is you, you may be missing out on doing things that could help speed up your recovery. If you're finding yourself in that situation, stop worrying and head to recoveryafterstroke.com, where you can download a guide that will help you. It's called 7 Questions to Ask Your Doctor About Your Stroke. These 7 questions are the ones Bill wished he'd asked when he was recovering from a stroke. They'll not only help you better understand your condition, they'll help you take a more active role in your recovery. Head to the website now, recoveryafterstroke.com, and download the guide. It's free.
It sounds like it was therapeutic as well, though. It sounds like it was necessary at some point to be
I think so.
in that state.
Now I live in a small town still, but I'm in town now. And it's been an adjustment because I can't, every once in a while, I want to go back to the country, all by myself. I go to work in an office with many people, which every morning is a struggle because I don't want to go around people. I still want that seclusion.
Is it something about the people, or is it the interactions difficult, or what's the issue?
I think it's interacting is difficult. Sometimes. Sometimes I talk just fluid. Sometimes you can understand everything I'm saying. Other times I sound like I've been in a bar all night,
Yeah.
you know, or I'm sitting there looking at you, asking me a question. I'm looking at you like, uh, and nothing comes out. And in my head, I'm repeating what I'm trying to get out, but nothing comes out. So it's embarrassing. Um, and then also, um, what was it? Well, our anniversary is September 10th of 2018. I was walking in the door and all of a sudden I had a seizure. So I've developed a post-stroke seizure disorder.
Uh-huh.
Now, luckily I don't convulse. I did just like a blank out. But I'm so afraid of that happening at work, in front of people,
Yeah.
that
Have
I
you
don't.
have you explained to the people that you work with that you have had a stroke in the past?
Um, Over the last 6 months, little things have come out here and there. But when I first applied, I did not tell nobody
Yeah.
because I wanted, I was afraid that people wouldn't hire me
Yeah.
because, oh, well, what if you can't remember what you're doing? And so,
Yes. Makes sense. I understand that. What kind of work were you doing for yourself before this job?
well, I was a Medicaid waiver uh, program provider. We provided group homes and um, foster care settings for people with intellectual disabilities. So that's what I did before. And because I learned how to do my own billing and all that kind of stuff, Now that's what I do. I do Medicaid billing for nursing homes.
Uh-huh. Okay. So you do it now for another organization.
Mhm.
Okay. So again, I'm going to challenge your logic. So these people, they deal with people who are living in nursing homes and are unwell,
Right?
and they're helping them and they're supporting them. And you've got some deficits because of a stroke, and there's still a sense of they're going to judge me and they're not going to, and it's going to be embarrassing to have a stutter or to forget what to say or to go blank. Of all people, wouldn't they be more likely kind of to understand the situation that some people face?
You would hope so.
Yeah.
You would think so. But again, in my mind, and I don't know what it is. I think it's just a fear of almost everything, you
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
and there's no reason for it. And I know that.
Okay. And have they surprised you pleasantly every so often when you think that something went pear shaped? Did they surprise you by not behaving the way that you thought they might? Or,
Yeah. Yeah. My boss says, and I have, when I noticed that she noticed some things, I came out and told her.
yeah,
And she never missed a beat with it, which I was very thankful for.
yeah.
Most people that work right in my general area, they kind of know, and they've never missed a beat. I have one lady that every time she talks to me, I don't know what it is, but I can't speak hardly. She'll ask me a question and she'll then look at me or treat me like I'm stupid. And so that's the only one though.
Yeah. Interesting. Some people trigger people. And what's interesting about you though is you're telling me about all these challenges that you have being around people. People are going to judge you and the rest of it. And then you come on a podcast that goes to about 50 or 60 countries and you're talking about all the problems that you have.
Because I have to.
Uh-huh.
I have to overcome.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I mean, I was talking to my doctor about it a couple weeks ago and I said, maybe I shouldn't do that because I'm going to be embarrassed of things I have to say. But there's got to be so. If I was like that, I had nobody. I've been very isolated. I've lost just about every friend I had. If I'm that way, there's got to be another person out there like me.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's many. And they're probably earlier on in the recovery and they're struggling like you are and they're looking for somebody to shine a light and go, all right, it wasn't so bad for Donna. Maybe it's okay for me to come on the podcast and share. And I think it's what it is. This podcast is like a therapy session for both people, me and the person that comes on. I think that's what we get out of it more than anything. And then the people listening are also able to have like a gentle introduction into what it's like to share and the benefits that both people get from the sharing. I get a benefit from hearing your story, and you get a benefit from telling your story and hearing my story. So I think that's what the podcast does. It kind of creates a gentle way for people to overcome the fear of expressing all their frustrations, challenges, concerns, worries about this situation. Um, and then when they come on the podcast, I think it's a little bit, uh, it's better than they expected. And it's also a little bit of a burden off the shoulders, I feel like.
Yeah, and I've thought about it, and I've thought, well, it's almost been like for 5 years, like a dirty little secret, you
Mm.
know, by me secluding myself and not going around people or anything. And friends didn't want to be bothered with me. That's fine because I don't really want you to see me anyway. Now it's like, okay, I have to make a change. I'm 5 years in, I'm 50, almost 55. I've got to make a change or I don't want to live the rest of my life like this. I have no quality of life. And it's like, okay, I've said to myself, you're going to make a change or you're going to end up single, alone. My marriage can't suffer any more of this. And so it's like, okay, I've got to figure out how to do it. And even if I say it out loud, then it's real.
Uh-huh.
And the secret is gone,
Right.
if that makes sense.
It makes complete sense. Okay. So the loss of friends, partly your fault and partly their fault, because I know a lot of stroke survivors talk about friends distancing themselves, and you're wondering where all your so-called friends went. Was that part of what happened to you, but also did you participate in that by secluding yourself?
I think in the beginning, I was very hurt because nobody called, nobody texted, nobody came around. When I came home from the hospital, nobody. And it's like, my feelings were hurt that nobody gives a damn anyway. So when they didn't come around or call, or they waited 3 months or 6 months, it was okay. I'd already started secluding myself. So at that point, it became a two street, two-way street.
Oh, okay. But there was a disconnect that you felt from people who you expected or thought would turn up and they didn't.
Right.
Do you have any sense of what might be behind that? Not that I intimately know anything about your relationship with these people, but um, do you have a sense? Was it like an inability to for them to kind of grasp the concept? Is it that you hit it so well, or pretended everything was okay? Was it a combination of those? What do you think was behind that disconnect?
I think a lot of it, they didn't know how to react to me, how to respond to me. Because like I said, I was very independent. I worked all the time. I came and go. I mean, I was always everywhere. And all of a sudden I'm sitting in one spot day after day. You know, I don't talk as well. I mean, my mouth was down here. I mean, it was literally almost 6 months before my face picked up to where, I mean, I could still see it, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
Um, so I think people didn't know how to respond or what to say. And it made them feel uncomfortable just as well as it made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, a lot of that is not really about them. It's not really about you. It's about them. It's about their inability to grasp the concept, to know what to say. It challenges their own mortality and their own idea about life and how it's fragile and it can be taken away. So it's a big challenge for a lot of people on the periphery of this. And then it's like, maybe it's better if I don't turn up because I don't know how to behave around somebody who's had a stroke. And maybe they don't know anyone who's had a stroke before. And yeah, it's ridiculous, but I know I'm kind of justifying it for them, but it's the way that I went around in my own mind trying to come to terms with some of the people that I thought would turn up who didn't, people who I turned up for in the past for them when I thought it was important for me to be around them. And then I kind of got through a number of years of sort of being upset, hating on them and all that kind of stuff, and then kind of realized that really what had happened was the best thing they did was they didn't turn up, because they might have made it worse or uncomfortable or made it about them or God knows what. And it would have been really difficult to have them around during that time when I really needed to recover.
Yeah.
So I forgive them now, and it's okay that I don't see them. Um, and honestly, I don't know if I would have behaved any better if the situation was reversed. If somebody I knew had a stroke at my age, 37, the kind of guy that I was before my stroke, I don't know if I would have turned up and been supportive or helpful. I like to think I would, but it's not guaranteed that I would have been. So I don't want to judge them too harshly. But many stroke survivors talk about how friendships change really rapidly, and it's hard.
It seems like all relationships change.
Uh-huh. Yes, they do.
You know, I
100%.
mean, from your kids to your spouse,
Yeah.
parents, every relationship changes.
Yep. And there is definitely a mourning phase in that. For me, there was a mourning phase. It was like, okay, you are different, so everyone is treating you differently, but your identity hasn't caught up yet. You're still your old identity, and they're still, and they've shifted very quickly because they see the ill person, but the ill person hasn't been able to change from being the person before stroke, literally a week ago or 6 weeks ago. And yeah, everyone changes around you, and you haven't caught up yet. I feel like I hadn't caught up for a little while. And it's still today, it's nearly next year will be 10 years since the brain surgery and 12 years since the initial bleed. And still, uh, it's impacting my life in positive ways through the podcast and the book that I've written and all the things that I'm doing, but then in negative ways because I still am interacting with stroke deficits around people who are quote unquote normal. And it's so hard because you can't tell that I've had a stroke when you see me walk, talk, or anything. And it's so hard to try and get people to get off my back sometimes just to give me a break, you know?
Oh yeah. I still don't know who I am exactly, and I'm like, I used to ask myself, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I don't even know who I am. I know more now than I did a year ago, and it wasn't until probably a year ago that I even cared to know,
Were you,
because I was so angry.
yeah. Were you mentally, this might sound like a strange question, and I'm not probably asking it the right way, but were you mentally kind of stable before that? People often who've had a stroke will tell me that they had depression, anxiety, that kind of stuff for many years, and it's kind of escalated it. A couple of people have told me that it's got better, or it changed it, or the anxiety went away, or the depression went away. So that's a couple of weird things that you hear. But how was your mental health before stroke? How would you describe yourself, and how did that change after stroke?
Well, I've never had an issue with really anxiety, so I never had that issue. Depression. When I was younger, I did, but then once I got older and I had kids, I mean, I didn't start having children until I was 30,
Uh-huh.
you know. So once I started having kids, I opened my own business. I kind of got out of that. I was busy with life, didn't have time to think about anything back there. And but I think that because it does run in my family, depression does run on my mom's side of the family. I think that the depression did escalate after the stroke.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And there's a lot of changes going on for you. So if you're having kids in your 30s and you're 54, your kids don't need you anymore much. They're grown. So not only is your identity changing because you've had a stroke, you're not working the way that you were before. You're not as independent as you were. You have a couple of stroke deficits, but you also your role as a mum and a wife has changed all at the same time.
Yeah, because about the time that I had the stroke, my daughter had just left home like 3 months prior, and my son was there, and but he was still grown, you know, and because I was 49 and he was born, 3 days before I turned 30. So he was 19, about right about there.
Yeah.
And so, um, yeah, I was already feeling that loss anyway, empty nest, I guess.
Yeah.
And then to be like this, and my daughter wasn't there, and I was thinking, I don't want my son, I want my daughter. I mean, I wanted him. I'm thankful for him. Don't get
Of
me wrong,
course. Yeah.
very thankful for him. But I just felt like that was a role a girl should have done. I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and all of that was all at the same time.
Yeah. It's a lot to handle. It's a lot for anyone to handle and try and come to terms with so suddenly. And it makes sense that retreating was your way of coping. Does it sound? It sounds like it was your way of coping. If I go into nowhere and I'm around nobody, I can just be me and just sort of settle into this new version of me. And it's therapeutic being on the land and gardening and doing all those things and not having car noises and sirens and all the hustle and bustle of a city. So it
Yeah,
sounds like your
I
instincts guided you well.
I loved it. You know, um, I hated to leave it. You know, but of course, like I said, we gave up the business, everything, because I was pretty much the only one that could do a lot of the stuff. And so it was like I couldn't handle it anymore. I tried, but I couldn't. I just could not keep up, you know. And so I had to admit that it's over.
Yeah.
And so we had a house in Tennessee and a house in Texas. Okay, we can't live in two places. Where are we gonna live? So we decided on Tennessee, which is in town. Uh, not it's a little bitty small town, not like a
Yeah.
city. I still go out there and garden in my backyard
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
But it's close to the services. Is it good that there's people around?
sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes not. I mean, then I don't. They don't say much to me. I only got about four neighbors around here. There's one lady across the street I talk to, and every now and then, she's busy, I'm busy. Um, but since I've been back to work, because I'm so tired still all the time, that a lot of days I just don't have any energy when I get home. I have nothing left for anyone or anything, not even cooking.
I know that feeling.
So
But
it's either work or home. What do you do?
yeah, I mean, when I wasn't at work, I was at home and I was um, cooking and cleaning and doing all the things that needed to be done around the house as much as I could. My wife would come home around 6 p.m. My kids would come home after school at the time. So I had a fair amount of the day to just chill out and do as little as possible and then have enough energy to prepare dinner so we can at least all eat together. Uh, so that was something I looked forward to. And then when I went to work, yeah, I'd come home at around 3:30, 4 o'clock, and then I'd be wiped out. Wiped out. I'd have to sit on the couch for a couple of hours. And even then, nobody had come home. Well, the kids weren't helping. They were teenagers. They were pains in the butt.
Oh
But
yeah.
my wife wouldn't be home yet. Uh, and I would have to kind of motivate myself around 5:30 after I'd been home for an hour and a half, sitting down doing nothing. I'd have to motivate myself to start preparing dinner and try and put something together. And then the key was to have dinner done early so that I could be sitting on the couch by 7 o'clock or something, so I could ease into going to bed and sleeping because yeah, the battery was completely empty, drained to zero, no no ability to do anything. And I remember having a lot of tasks to do, like emails, for example. Well, after dinner, I'll sit down and do those emails, and there's no hope in hell I would be able to sit down and look at a computer screen and send an email. It doesn't matter how urgent or how important it was. It just didn't happen because I'm not sure if the word is painful, but it was really, really hard to sit through it and get it done. And it was the price I had to pay was too much. I wouldn't it wasn't beneficial to my health and well-being to sit down and write an email. It sounds bizarre, but that's how bad it felt at some stage.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way it is for me. On the days that I work, I don't even expect nothing. And now I'm struggling with, okay, all the doctors say, why aren't you on disability?
Uh-huh.
Well, because for one, you have to wait, what, a year or two sometimes to get it, you know? Well, how do you live till then? What do you do? And then I make things now, and I've sold them. I've taught classes since I've had stroke,
Uh-huh. What do you
you
make?
know. I do wreaths, I paint, paper craft, I do several different things.
Uh-huh.
But I used to teach wreath making classes, you know, before I came to Tennessee. So I've thought, maybe this is just too much for me because it's such a struggle to get up and get there. And then it's so hard sometimes to sit there hour upon hour. I have two huge computer screens, my eye for vision going blurry.
Yep.
I'm just now I do have anxiety sometimes now, which I never had before.
Yeah.
It'll just my heart will start pounding. And it's like, okay, I got to walk away from her. I got to go outside, you know.
Yes.
And I've thought maybe it's time for me to figure something else out.
Yeah.
You
Set up
know,
a little side hustle, something that fills your heart with joy, that allows you to tune out of your head and to, go into the space of creating and, delivering something amazing. I remember with work, I went through a similar thing again, two computer screens, a lot of lights over the top, 30 people in the room, noise, overwhelm, the whole kind of thing. And I was never employed by somebody from the age of about 28. I was self-employed. So by 37, I had been working for myself for about 9 or 10 years. And then I tried to go back to work 2 or 3 times in the first few years after the initial bleed. And I had 3 bleeds. So every time I went back to work, something else happened, and then something else happened. And then I had brain surgery. So for 3 years, I was on this roller coaster of slowly improving and then going downhill, slowly improving and then going downhill, and then brain surgery. And then after the brain surgery, about a year after, I couldn't work for myself anymore. I was completely gone. So I had to go and work in an office for 3 years. And what was interesting was how, even though that was really difficult, my boss totally understood. So they kind of protected me a little bit. So if I had bad days where I wasn't productive, I wasn't getting anything done, and I needed to go into the courtyard outside or sort of retreat away from my desk, they kind of turned a blind eye and they didn't really bug me too much. But what that allowed me to do was see a progression in my improvement. So I went from being able to look at the monitors for an hour or two to, by the end of it, 3 years later, I was full time doing all the work that I needed to do, with very rare days where I was struggling really bad. And if I was, I just took a sick day. I just didn't come to work those days. So it kind of rehabilitated me. And what was interesting was it was a brain dead job. I took a brain dead job where I almost didn't have to do any of the thinking. And therefore, waking up, getting in the car, driving to work, and going to work was also part of the rehabilitation, because it was a routine that most of the time I couldn't get out of. Somebody else was relying on me on turning up. Whereas when I was working for myself, I could easily just say, well, I'm not going to work next week again, or today or tomorrow or whatever. So it kind of kept me honest and made me push through those barriers, those really difficult barriers. Oh my God, I can't think straight. I can't see straight. There's too much noise. And what I did is I actually brought to work headphones that were noise cancelling, covered my entire ear. But I never used to play music. I just used to wear them. And it used to just calm down the noise in the place, and it used to settle my nervous system down, just like you hear some autistic kids do.
Mhm.
And on top of my head, there was fluorescent light tubes, which went out. They stopped working about a year after I'd started there, and they brought the maintenance guy in to come in and repair them. But I asked him not to change the light globes and put fresh ones in, so he didn't. And as a result, I now didn't have these annoying fluorescent lights over my head, and also I could decrease the room noise with my headphones, and it made such a massive difference to uh, my ability to be productive at work and to get through a whole day.
I've gotten to where I use headphones, but I put music on because all I hear everybody talking, 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 and my brain is trying to get all over the place
Yeah,
instead of being here.
yeah,
And so, in order for me to get work done, I have to pick them up, put them on.
yeah,
And I've even thought about I need to be sitting over there somewhere by myself.
yes,
But I don't want to be like ask that because then they'll think, oh, she's stuck up or don't want to be around us. No, it has to do with me really being able to stay right here in the moment,
yeah,
and do what I got to do and remember what I got to do.
yeah, yeah. So headphones do help. A little bit of music gets rid of all of the multiple different noises that are coming around and just makes it one and helps you to achieve the same thing that I was achieving, which was to sort of calm things down a little bit and focus.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's good. And your husband, is he employed? What kind of work does he do? How did he become involved in this whole situation? How did that work out?
Well, he does remodeling type thing stuff. So he works for himself, and we actually worked together when I was self-employed, and then we both had to kind of figure things out. Um, and he went to work for him. He's still working for himself, and he's just finishing up a house, and then he'll move on to the next job. And during the middle of all this, my husband got cancer.
Uh huh.
So now he's changed to some degree, but his mindset has changed because he was like me, work, 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 all about making that money, and like we're taught to do as when my generation, you
Yeah.
got to have a career, you got to make money, work,
I
work,
know all
work.
about it. Yep.
And now he's like, it's time. It's time to think about what's important in life, not about what money can buy you because you can't take it with you when you go anyway.
Yeah.
Both of us have had situations to where it's time for us just to slow down and think about what's really important and downsize. And of course, part of my brain says, yeah, that sounds good. The other part of my brain is, but I don't know how to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you've been on one track for 50 years, then you have to relearn a lot of things. One of them is how to get off the track and choose a new one that's going to be good, useful, supportive, the right one. Uh, Absolutely. I tried to get out of being self employed and I couldn't do it. My business suffered and my clients didn't get the kind of service or support that they should have. My business is a property maintenance business. We paint houses and offices and what have you in buildings. And then I went to get a job for somebody else, and that kind of worked. But being inside, taking orders, not that it's like that bad. It wasn't that bad, but I just couldn't cope. And after 3 years, I tried to find a new way to get the business up and running. And I've brought somebody on and made them a partner. And without that, it wouldn't exist now. So I had to find a new way. So I don't do as much of the painting and all of the stuff on the tools as I used to. I do more of the off the tools stuff. And then I do help out when necessary on the tools. A lot of the quoting, chasing money, paying bills, that kind of stuff. So whereas before I was doing it all on my own, accounts, bills, chasing money, quotes, picking up materials, setting up staff, painting, a whole lot, everything. And it was just, there wasn't enough hours in the day to do all the things that I did. If I went back to that system, I don't think I'd last another 12 months. I mean, it'd be terrible. So you do kind of stumble and fumble and find a way eventually to a path that suits, but you've got to go down the wrong path a few times as well. You've got to get lost and then go, oh no, this is not what I expected. I need to find another way. And now that you've made the decision, it sounds like you're you're way more equipped to get to the other side than you were previously. How's your husband's health? How's he coming?
Well, he's good right now. He's still got a lot of what do you call it? Side effects
Uh-huh.
from the radiation and all that stuff. And but he's still, I mean, he used to be like me, worked. He could work a younger man, and he's 60, 61, and he could work 20-year-old in the ground. I mean, he just the way he was. Now, 1 o'clock, he really needs a nap, you know.
Yeah.
But I think hopefully he'll be okay. We'll see.
Yeah. That's the thing about stroke and all that other stuff. Life still happens around you. So even though your head's not working properly and your body's not working properly, you still have to deal with life, the normal day to day, everyday parts of life.
And I think that once things started happening in life that I really had to start dealing with, that's when I decided, okay, I don't want to live this way anymore. I want to have a rewarding life, whatever that may be, you know. And so, in order for me to do that, I have to let that little girl sit down that had that stroke and learn to talk to her and understand her and live with her versus fight it all the time, so to speak.
Yeah. Yes. Versus fight it. Yeah. Very true. As we're coming to the end of this episode, I wanted to ask you three more questions before we end that I've tried to make a habit of asking everybody uh, these questions, but only recently. So the first question is, what was the hardest thing about stroke?
Loneliness,
Uh-huh.
very lonely, because even if you could be in a room full of people, nobody truly understands half of what you're saying. They might smile and nod and act like they do, but they really just don't understand how hard it is some days to get up and go take that shower.
Mm,
How hard it is some days just to say hello to somebody, That
yeah.
was the worst, the being so lonely.
Yeah. What has stroke taught you?
I'm not invincible, That's one thing. Um, I used to think, oh, I'll be around. I'm 100. I don't know so much about that anymore. You know, um, it's taught me that it is important to do what you enjoy in life. Enjoy your life because you don't know from 1 minute to the next when it's going to be gone. And don't do a job just because you got to do it, whether
Yeah.
you make a lot of money or not.
Yeah. There's people listening now that are our journey. They're maybe a little bit earlier on and they haven't had the courage to face some of the fears and overcome some of the challenges and talk about their stroke, what would you tell somebody listening right now who's going through what you were going through? What do you want to say to them?
I'd say make Google your best friend.
Uh-huh.
YouTube and Google, because that's what I ended up having to do because I didn't had nobody to talk to. You know, nobody knew. I didn't know. I looked up things. You know, read things. I looked up. I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll write a book, even if I don't publish it. I'll get all of it out there on paper, out of my head.
Uh-huh.
You know, don't wait. Don't be embarrassed, and don't wait 5 years or 4 years or 3 years to say, hey, this is me, whoever me happens to be. You know,
Lovely. Very wise words.
find somebody, even if it's a pen pal on the internet, somebody that can relate to what you're saying.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Donna, thank you so much for reaching out and overcoming some of your fears and joining me on the podcast.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again for joining us on today's episode. Remember to grab your copy of Chapter 1 free of charge. You can just go to recoveryafterstroke.com/book. Fill out the form and then you will receive it in your email a few moments later. As always, to learn more about my guests, including links to their social media and other pages, and to download a full transcript of the entire interview, please go to recoveryafterstroke.com/episodes. Thank you to all those who have already left the show a review. It means the world to me, and you are helping others in need to find this type of content. And hopefully, what that does is make their life a little better. If you haven't left a review and would like to do so, the best way to do it is to go to Spotify and iTunes and leave a 5-star review and a few words about what the show means to you. If you're watching on YouTube, comment below the video. I love seeing people's comments and I try to respond to all of them. Like the episode, and to get notifications of future episodes, subscribe to the show and hit the notification bell. Thanks again for being here and listening. I really appreciate you. See you on the next episode.
Importantly, we present many podcasts designed to give you an insight and understanding into the experiences of other individuals. Opinions and treatment protocols discussed during any podcast are the individual's own experience, and we do not necessarily share the same opinion, nor do we recommend any treatment protocol discussed. All content on this website and any linked blog, podcast, or video material controlled this website or content is created and produced for informational purposes only and is largely based on the personal experience of Bill Gassiamis. The content is intended to complement your medical treatment and support healing. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied on as health advice. The information is general and may not be suitable for your personal injuries, circumstances, or health objectives. Do not use our content as a standalone resource to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease for therapeutic purposes or as a substitute for the advice of a health professional. Never delay seeking advice or disregard the advice of a medical professional, your doctor, or your rehabilitation program based on our content. If you have any questions or concerns about your health or medical condition, please seek guidance from a doctor or other medical professional. If you are experiencing a health emergency or think you might be, call 000 if in Australia, or your local emergency number immediately for emergency assistance, or go to the nearest hospital emergency department. Medical information changes constantly. While we aim to provide current, quality information in our content, we do not provide any guarantees and assume no legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, currency, or completeness of the content. If you choose to rely on any information within our content, you do so solely at your own risk. We are careful with links we provide. However, third-party links from our website are followed at your own risk, and we are not responsible for any information you find there.